Welcome back to the Prophets of IT, the podcast where we sit down with the smartest minds in IT and pull out insights that make a difference. I'm your host, Jim Punzenberger, creator of Managed Prospecting System.com. And before we jump in, a quick word from our sponsor, which just happens to be Managed Prospecting System.com, which is a three-pillared marketing system that helps IT companies generate predictable leads through authority content, LinkedIn outreach, and targeted email campaigns. If you're done hoping that the phone will ring and ready for a real pipeline, check out managedprospectingsystem.com after the show. All right, today's guest is somebody who's going to change how you think about growth. She's founder and CEO of Momentum Healthcare and Technology Consulting and the founder of Ideal for Healthcare. She's left her stable corporate role, built her consulting business to nearly 7 figures in the first year, and she did it by telling people the truth they didn't want to hear. That's that their growth problem isn't a marketing problem, it's an alignment problem. Well, Kristen, welcome to the Prophets of IT. Feel free to say hi to the audience.
Hello, I am honored to be here and really grateful to have been able to get on your show, Jim. I'm a big fan and love all of the different speakers that you have that come on the show. So excited to be a part of the community. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, it's my pleasure to have you. And let's jump right into it. We like to be efficient here.
Yeah.
And let's get into the truth bomb. And yours might be the most important thing that's been said on this show for IT owners specifically. You said the biggest misconception is that more equals better, more leads, more tools, more initiatives. And you said what's really happening is in most organizations, it's not the lack of opportunity that's a problem. It's the lack of alignment. You want to
Yeah.
expand on that?
Well, I think just backing up to the culture that we live in here in the US specifically, and I think more even is probably worldwide, but we definitely feel it here in the US, is a consumption of more engagement, more data, more ways to be able to streamline your life
Mhm.
and offset things. And AI and technology, it's just we're in this stage right now where we have incredible opportunity to leverage all of these amazing tools. And when I first jumped off the cliff of entrepreneurship, I thought for sure I knew what people would want to tap me to help them with. Before I had actually built the business and it was just a standalone me, myself, and
Mhm.
I was sure that I was going to be solving specific problem. But what I realized is that even the organizations that brought me in that thought that they needed help with a specific problem, what we actually found was rather than needing a tool, we needed to go back to foundational process alignment and people alignment, because all the tools in the world can't solve an organization's problems if you don't actually have a great foundation in place and great change management. And it actually is more beneficial to the solutions that an organization gets that right first because you have a better success rate whenever you're actually implementing the solutions and the adoption. So I think people really overcomplicate growth by trying to solve it externally and trying to solve it with all of the different tactics and tools. Um, and I think that you can't market your way out of operational gaps, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, that makes sense. So it's really you can't fix an internal problem with doing more external activities, it sounds like.
Yeah. Well, and whenever you think about challenges in volume and leads and referrals and documentation and all of the different things that happen throughout an organization, there's tons of tools that can help that. But if you don't know your own process and what the gaps are in your organization, then a solution's only going to layer in and complicate that and also probably create some cultural friction within your organization. So that's why it's just so important, I think, that you take the time. And that's something that Momentum spends a whole lot of time doing is helping organizations, not only advising them on it, but we really pride ourselves in being a consulting firm where we like roll up our sleeves and help you execute on that.
That makes sense. So let's shift gears a moment and talk about your superpower. And you mentioned, we talked before, yours is a two-part combination that I think is pretty rare. You said it's pattern recognition paired with radical honesty. Most people have one or the other. Having both is I guess it sounds like a force multiplier. Start with the pattern recognition side. How does that work, and how does the two, multiply?
What I realized, and I'm getting old now, so I'm starting to be a little bit more humble and looking back at, how I arrived at some of these like what is my talent? What do I do bring to the table? I've always liked puzzles and I always liked solving things. And as an adult and in business, business is like solving things. And it's also about seeing what patterns are there and how can you impact those patterns? Some of them are personality patterns, process patterns, organization, but there's patterns across the board. And then that combined with, I made a decision about 12 years ago that we were really going to embrace, candor and transparency and honesty in our communication. And sometimes that doesn't give you permission to be mean, but it gives you the ability to really be able to say out loud what you're seeing and with what intent are you saying that. As long as your honesty is paired with a positive intent to be able to solve for something that somebody can change, then I think that is something that we should all be doing. We should all honor each other with that. So I try to combine the two of those and identifying things. And if somebody's open to the feedback, providing them with, radical honesty and transparency, and how can we move forward to either, if it's a positive pattern, amplify that and really double down so that that's our unfair advantage, or if it's a negative pattern or causing negative friction, how do we work together to solve that? Is it through coaching of an individual, solving through a process, or layering in a technology, But that's just kind of overall how I think about those things. And whenever I go back to complex situations or something that's keeping me up at night, I really try to like step back and embrace those two things. And that's how I usually come out on the other side of a challenge or an obstacle.
It's a great power to have, or a great way of looking at things, I think, uh, is by combining the now I realize that the two work together.
Yeah, it's I think everything's just a balance in life. And too much honesty without the right intent is not a good thing. But whenever you can focus it in on changing patterns that improve, that's a great thing, you know?
I like it. So let's shift gears a moment again here and talk about your $1 million learning moment. And yours is one that I think almost every successful person has probably experienced, but very few talk about, you know, openly. You told me that really your biggest mistake was staying in situations longer than you should have, trying to push through misalignment instead of addressing it. Um, what did that look like, and how did you learn from that?
Am somebody, and I'm recovering from this, I say. So it's every day is it's like housekeeping on old habits, but I spent most of my career, it was really up until the end of 2024 that I felt like I always needed to break the glass ceiling. I needed to bust down the door. I was going to make something work come hell or high water because that was what I thought I was supposed to be doing. And at the end of 2024, I had a real come to Jesus, literally, and a real like wake up to what is important in life and how do you gain alignment? How do I gain alignment? And I realized I'm tired. I'm tired of, my head hurts from hitting glass ceilings, and I'm tired of breaking down doors. What would it be like if I just walked through the door that was meant for me? What would it feel like to walk the path that you're supposed to be walking? And so with that kind of mindset and that kind of perspective, that's how I arrived at, my biggest learning moment was, you know, I put myself in situations longer than I should have because I was trying to force a situation or trying to force an outcome that you cannot you cannot impact and change everything. As soon as I really started listening to how can I make the biggest difference? How can I help other people? And I really started walking what was meant for me. Funny how the right doors open, and funny how you can still move up and grow. But you don't have to shatter your skull on the glass ceiling necessarily to do that. You can still accomplish the same things. Um, so it was a real growing up and real recognition of like, going through some hard times to realize the longer you tolerate things that don't align with you, the more it actually costs just yourself and your own energy and ultimately the results that you were hoping for. And so that translates into all aspects of my life, professionally, um, the nonprofit that I run, my personal life and all of that. And I have to say, like looking back at now at 2026, making those changes, um, it's amazing. It's changed completely how I operate as a mom, as a business owner, as a leader, as a healthcare industry advocate, specifically for care at home. It just it makes things easier and a lot simpler to walk.
That makes sense. So, what's got you excited at Momentum and Ideal right now?
There's so much good positive momentum, every pun intended, happening across the board with momentum from a consulting perspective and all the positive alignment that's happening with the nonprofit. So it's hard to say like any one thing because there's so much great things that we're doing and how we're serving the industry. A big area of focus is helping organizations, move from strategy to execution. And that's aligning operations, technology, go to market positioning, so that it's all working together and actually making it happen with you. Again, we really pride ourselves, like from Momentum's perspective, being completely unbiased and rolling up our sleeves, not just telling you this is what you should do, being willing to bring the resources to help you execute. And then alongside that, we're continuing to build out Ideal for Healthcare, which is a community focused on uplifting women within the healthcare industry and elevating leaders. We're going to be publishing a book, and we're actually doing a call for authors right now, women that want to participate and contribute a chapter to the book that we'll be publishing. So much good stuff, but lots of opportunities to be able to connect.
Hmm. And what would be a good way of connecting with you if somebody would like to reach out and learn more?
I am such an open door. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I have quite a connection base there, and so happy to connect there. Also, we'll share my email as well, which is a long email, and I probably need to work on that. But we'll share that with you, and would love to be able to connect either way.
Sure, we can share that in the show notes if that's okay with you.
That would be great.
So yes, check the show notes for the contact information. And any final thoughts before we wrap things up here?
No, I think I really appreciate the opportunity to join your show and would love to connect and stay synced up with you, Jim, and the audience. Thank you so much for listening in. I appreciate the opportunity.
Well, it's been my pleasure having you on. And until next time, stay. Until next time, now is a good time to check out managedprospectingsystem.com. And of course, as always, stay hydrated and caffeinated. Bye for now.
Bye.